This is the Nike Pegasus 42. It came out yesterday, and today we are putting it through its paces. We're gonna go ahead and take it through a mile at 10-minute pace, 8:30 pace, and something sub 7-minute pace to see how it does amongst a range of groups. We have this new full-length air zoom unit that they are really pressing forward on. They are letting you know that it is there. There are some minor tweaks to the shoe, and we're gonna see how it stacks up against everything out there. For anybody out there who doesn't know, the Pegasus has been a historic line going all the way up to the 42nd iteration. I don't know how many shoes you can think of off the top of your head that have more than 42 different iterations, but the Pegasus has been around a super long time. We'll run through some quick specs here. We're coming in at 10.6 ounces, so not the lightest, but that's not what you're asking the Pegasus to be. This is not a super trainer. It is not asking to be, it's not trying to be. So it is just a super normal daily trainer that weighs what most of the other ones do. We've got 37 millimeters of stack here in the back down to 27 in the front for a very Nike-like 10 millimeter heel to toe drop. And really the story with this is the different air zoom units. So they've had full length units and not had full length units, and I've had a lot of the Pegasus. In fact, I brought some with me. So this is a Pegasus 36. This was my all-time favorite shoe. And this is a 39. I've had a lot of Pegasuses. The Pegasus was actually even my very first running shoe. So back in 7th grade, that's when I got my first pair of Nike Pegasus. It was my very first running shoe for track because I had shin splints really bad, and good shoes actually do make a difference on that front. But today we're talking about a $5 increase on a shoe that has supposedly given us a little more room here in the toe box, which would be sorely needed. I don't know if you can see these ones, but they are not the widest. It looks wider. I'm curious how hard this taper in here really affects things. The other kind of interesting update we have here, and this, to be fair, is quite flattened, but we have more foam under the forefoot. So although the drop is still 10, they've added a little bit of extra foam here to help with the roll and make it feel like you have a little more underfoot than really just a low piece of foam underfoot that doesn't really do a whole lot for you. It just kind of disappears into the abyss. We did also mess with the uppers quite a bit. So this is the 39, and it looks like we have taken some of that tread off. So it's kind of a different style of waffle. Not that I'm necessarily opposed to that, but it is certainly different one versus the other. Like, this is brand new, and this is the tread we have, versus this is a shoe that has a lot of miles on it, as you can rightfully see. As always, I'm also going to take you through, tell you who it's for, who it's not for, and where it might fit into your rotation at home. Before we get into that though, let's go ahead and get it on foot, get a feel for it, and get a walk test in to see how it just feels on foot, if I feel any noticeable differences from any of the previous generations. All right, so I did have this at the store, so I was able to just slip it on. I actually genuinely do try and do a pretty good job of not putting these on before I do these reviews, but I do like to make sure I'm getting the right size. So I did go up a half size in this. So I am normally a 12, sometimes 12 and a half. Interestingly, in the Nike Vomero, which I'm taking off of my foot, I was also 12 and a half in that, but yeah, 12 and a half here felt right. The 12, I was like right up on the end, and with the 12 and a half here, I've got just about a half thumb. So if you're between sizes, definitely go up on this one. If you are pretty solidly one size, I would say you might be okay with your normal size. As always, if you want to help support me in the channel and you like reviews like this, you can take a look at the Ontos running socks or an Ontos quarter zip. That is always super helpful for me. A shoe like this I'm paying for with a very appreciated store discount, but the support from you guys is a lot of what makes this happen. Building the Ontos brand is something I'm very serious about and want to do, and support from people like you is super appreciated. Now, as I was saying, we do theoretically have a wider toe box, but I think that is kind of kindly stated. It does not feel super wide or like tremendously accommodating. Maybe better than some of the ones in the past, but you know, I'm not like, that's not, if I wasn't told that in the marketing information, that's not something that I'd be like, oh yeah, it's definitely super wide here. Now, the React X, which is the foam in here, is also supposed to be a little more, a little softer than previous generations. I'm curious how that feels, so we're going to get a close-up of the shoe and how it feels before we walk. All right, so on foot, you know, it feels like a Pegasus still. I feel like there's a lot of hype about things that have changed on here, and every other iteration they do a pretty big update. But man, this is a Pegasus through and through. Also, you may notice this bruise here on my ankle. I did twist the crud out of it. So if there's anything weird on the test today, that's why. I'm not going to hurt myself to run extra fast, but we should get a good idea of how the shoe feels still. So that's exactly what I expected it to be. This is feeling a whole lot like a Pegasus, which I'm actually not mad at. I think I'm going to go on a rant in a whole other video about why daily trainers are actually valuable, but no like super prominent arch, no overly bouncy. It's not like it's the lightest thing in the world. And all of that is okay. That's kind of what I want this Pegasus to be. Like, I sell this shoe often, not only for runners, but people who are just being athletic in general. But we'll get into more of that later. So we're gonna go ahead and just hop into the miles here. I'm gonna collect all of these things like the old Pegasuses and put them back in the car. Then we'll get into a really good idea of how the shoe feels amongst those 3 paces. With stuff back in the car and GPS having just connected, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna give you the thoughts on the very first steps and we'll go. Ready? So I am babying this ankle quite a bit because it got pretty jacked up. I was doing a trail run and had a big old pop on it, bruised up pretty bad right away. So we are not gonna crush anything, hopefully. And we're gonna do a slow warm up into this. Oh, we are going too fast already though. I'm gonna reiterate what I said on that walk test. This is 1,000,000% still a Pegasus. Now, having said that, I will also say Pegasus is my favorite shoe, probably ever. It's just such a reliable shoe. It can do so many things. It's so versatile, and I really appreciate it for that. Okay, we are hanging out like right around our pace. Running very easy, which is nice. Trying to slowly build in for the ankle to not be too mad. I will say, I'll give the shoe 2 credits for doing these things better. 1, although I couldn't really feel it when I was walking, I can feel the wider toe box now that I'm moving, and I do appreciate that. Good job to kind of the whole industry on that. Like, feels like more and more things are going to the wider toe box, and they should. Just gives your feet more room to do their thing. Second thing, although I don't really feel like the whole Zoom unit, like being dramatically different, I do notice a very nice rock at the forefoot. And if I had to reckon a guess, I would say the 3 millimeters of extra foam there at the forefoot probably makes the roll feel a little smoother. So also well done on that front. This is like the pace of our nice easy shuffle right now. And that means we're definitely heel striking. Not like super soft underfoot, I'll be honest. Now, an area where I think the Zoom unit might do more is when we do end up putting more force into it. That'll be an interesting one for me, being that I'm kind of like babying my foot. Does anything in my stride feel better with this shoe while I'm trying to keep my ankle nice and steady and not do anything weird with it? Like, I want support right now. We're actually about to hit our mile. That is 10:02. So we'll pause that. First mile, very much what I expect out of a Pegasus. Good fit all the way around. I like how the shoe fits on my foot, always have. I mean, I'm not kidding. I've used this since I was in 7th grade, and that's probably a big part of why I like it, but I do just like how it fits on my foot. So I figure it makes sense to mention the timeline for this because I was just saying I want it to be stable. I jacked my ankle up on Sunday. Today is Friday, so yesterday, Thursday, is the first day I was able to do any running at all. Wednesday I tried and could like walk and do a small bit of jogging. Yesterday, I put the Mountain Coast C1 on, and I think a mixture of its wide platform and its nice support on the arches made it feel really nice. The rocker felt really good. I think that shoe's gonna break in super well. That's what I said in the first review. And I think it's gonna end up being so good. So I'm gonna keep running in it. I'm fingers crossed. I'm gonna do 5 today and 10 tomorrow. I'm not sure how the foot's gonna actually handle that or if it will allow me to do it, but I am gonna wear the Mountain Coast C1 for that. Because it feels like it's going to do what I need it to do. Three-quarters of a mile in, hanging right on pace. The shoe is doing everything it needs to and nothing at all extra, which is in fact why I'm going to go on my like daily shoe rant at some point. But this is a like foot strengthening shoe, right? This has a very real place and deserves to be in the market, 100%. But this is not like a shoe I'm like so stoked on that I'm like, I have to have this. This is what 830 looks like in these. Not crazy. In fact, so not crazy that I would say it's like a daily trainer. I will save the rant for another day, but having a shoe that allows your foot to do some work and get strong and allows your body to actually take a little bit of impact, I think those are all good things. We are almost to the end of mile 2. Very easily done with mile 2 there. Quite pleased with how the ankle is feeling. That not being in too much pain is cool. That is also kind of why I like these first run reviews, is I get to run pretty easy and actually warm into my runs, which I know I should always do, but sometimes I'm busy and sometimes I just get out and start running. As I was saying with the feel on the 830 pace, man, it's not like overly soft in the foot or in the heel. It's not overly soft in the forefoot. It does feel like it would go plenty fast. That is one thing that I've always given the shoe a ton of credit for, and why as a primarily Sprinter 400 guy, I always really like this shoe is it feels like it really does a great job of force transfer into the ground. Now, I do think a large part of that is due to the really low forefoot. Just by nature, the peg is 37 in the back, 27 in the forefoot, and it drops off pretty hard. So if you're somebody who really likes that ground feel and feels like pushing force into the ground is how you want to run, and especially run fast, I don't have any problems with the Pegasus here for that. One thing I did notice a little bit with this is it felt like the heel was slipping a little bit, not any sort of bad way, but because I walk in between these reps, I am gonna stop to do the runner's loop on it. If that's a huge concern for you, be aware of that. I will comment on the upper actually real quick. This upper here is actually really nice. I like how this is meshed out here. And then there's plenty of padding on the tongue, but it doesn't feel like it's too much, too bulky or anything like that. So upper, that's a nice update. I do enjoy that. It has at some points in time been very minimal on the tongue. Like I think the 36 that I showed, the red one, hardly any protection there at all on top of the foot. So good job on the upper. I like that. So with the shoe tied up, I'm going to see how this feels at the faster pace. I am not going to like overly push myself to the point that I'm going to hurt my ankle if it doesn't feel right. But if it does, then great. Now, I actually do think it'll be okay for it. I even want to go do a couple of strides in this just to show that this is a plenty fast shoe, if that's what you're asking it to do. Not a flat, but it does a really good job when you ask it to go faster. I am hopeful that the 42 maintains that. So with that said, let's hop into the next rep. So we were stopping very quickly to get that B-roll shot. That's what sub 7 minute pace looks like. We are 6:42 right now. Feels like my strides are just real long. Doesn't really feel like the big turnover is how we're adding speed here. We're at 6:50 right now, feeling okay. Don't really want to press faster though. Super smooth to the forefoot. That geometry update here going a little faster is actually pretty stellar. Okay, done with that rep. The rocker was most impressive there. I really enjoyed that feel. That was like a very nicely done feeling with the extra force we're putting into the ground. Also, I think this really rewards a longer stride length. So if that's the way that you like to increase your speed of stride length, I think this will be really nice. It's kind of making me think like metaspeed sky versus metaspeed edge. This feels like it rewards that stride length. I am not a cadence runner, so I will be very forthright with that. But, you know, a moderate midfoot striker, and I really like pushing force into the ground, and that aggressive rock towards the front, I think made that feel quite nice. So that is maybe the runner that it's for, that wants that and a lot of ground feel. I'm gonna do a couple of strides here real quick. I think I've got a straightaway just ahead of me. And that'll give you an idea of what it feels like when we go fast in it. This looks to be quite uphill, so we'll see how fast this is. But I don't know, that can actually be a good thing to kind of test and try and see. So we'll do that. That one there was 5 minute, 10-second pace. Not the fastest in the world, but I will say uphill. I feel like I get a little more credit there. We'll do another one. This is totally what I want the shoe to be, what I have always loved this shoe for. It really does its job. It puts force into the ground just as much as you put into it. It's not like a fancy does everything for you kind of shoe. And that's why I like it, especially for sprinters and jumpers and people of that nature. So we'll go again. That one was kicking faster. That was 4:21 pace. Did kind of hurt the inside of the leg there, so we're going to shut it down there. Turns out when you have an ankle sprain, going fast isn't really super great for it. At any rate, I'm going to go ahead and finish out a mile or two, whatever the leg will tolerate. Then we'll do the final breakdown. One thing of note for my friends out there who also don't like taking time off when you have something pop up, do be smart with it. Like I said the whole time, like if something hurts or feels weird, I'm going to shut it down. And the only thing that did end up hurting it was that last really fast stride. And so I'm just not going to do anything else like that. We're just going to do an easy mile or two cool down and then be done for the day. We're also going to monitor tomorrow, even though I want to run. I want to be smart. If it's not there, I will not force it. You guys do the same. I know you all want to do everything you can and get better and all that, but you got to be smart and look long game. So we just finished up. We did 5 miles in total in the Pegasus 42. I want to start this off by saying there is a super good reason for this shoe to exist. I know this can kind of get dunked on sometimes, and as I said, it's been one of my favorite shoes for my entire running career. I have so many good memories with this shoe. I think there are a lot of people who this does a good thing for, and that's anybody who's trying to just generally be active. Come on, anybody that is getting so wound into the shoe world that they can't see that this is an awesome shoe for people who want to run a little bit, walk some, maybe ruck, go to the gym with, and not do heavy lifting, but like you can do most of your lifting in a Pegasus. It gives you a little bit of that heel to toe drop, which is even nice for lifting. But somebody that's doing the Stairmaster, like if you're being active, this is a totally fine shoe. Now, again, always value guy. I would not spend $145 on it. It goes on sale too early. Nike will discount a colorway so fast, you can almost always find a shoe down around $100. And for that, I think you are getting plenty of good shoe at that price point. Honestly, you don't even have to wait that long. It doesn't take long for Nike to end up putting these on sale. You can find them pretty dang quick, or you can pick up a 41. 41 and 42, I'm gonna say pretty similar, even though there are all these differences we're talking about, like pretty good. I do love the upper on this. I think they did a very nice job opening it up. I was surprised. I put it on at first and was like, man, this still feels like a narrow Nike shoe. And as I was running, I was like, oh, this is actually genuinely got more space than I anticipated it having. The rocker geometry here, I think this really did make a pretty sizable difference in the feeling of the shoe. I was really pleased with it, especially as I started going a little faster. When I was like doing the stride, so basically near sprinting, it didn't really matter. Like it doesn't really matter once you're going that fast. But for the faster mile, the 6:47, I think it was, I thought it did a great job of rolling you into the forefoot for a good toe off. I was super stoked with it. No problems with the grip. As you can see here, I do think they took a lot of this rubber coverage off, which I'm not a huge fan of. Probably saved a little bit of weight. But we'll see how it holds up. I will probably end up running in this shoe some more on my own. Like a C1 or a Super Blast, like I definitely am going to keep running in those a bunch. Pegasus is a more like, I want a pretty neutral feeling, blech, almost kind of running shoe. Kind of like the 1080. I've been pulling for that way more than I anticipated I would be. So where's this fit in a rotation? If you're new to running, it could be your one shoe rotation. I think there are better options for that, but if you are like casually dabbling in some running and you do some lifting and you might, I don't know, go play some intramural sports or something like that, or just go on walks and want a lifestyle shoe, I think it's pretty reasonable on that front. Optimal number of shoes for a rotation where this would actually have some reasonable place. I would say probably like a 4 shoe rotation. You could have your like daily shoe that you actually want to wear, something for fast days, when you're doing normal stuff, a racing shoe, and then you could go backwards and find this. So like you can have one shoe and do everything. You can have 2 shoes, one that goes faster, one that goes easier. Then I think the 3rd shoe you get usually fills that speed, like really fast gap. And then you can bring it back to where this is like a really almost throwaway kind of shoe. If you're like that sneakerhead that really loves the running space and that's like all you do. I'm going to get into who it's not for in just a second, but again, I do want to mention again the Ontos running brand. It is my own brand. If you made it this far into the video, I would love some support with it. This is how I make most of this stuff happen, is through my merch, and we're trying to grow it. So take a look at the Ontos brand. Our hats are on the way. I'm going to keep hyping that up until they actually land here, but they're being produced. I'm so stoked for the hats. In the meantime, I do have these awesome quarter zips, shirts, socks, fun stuff like that. With, you guys are the first ones to hear this, tanks for men's and women on the way, and I have some shirts for ladies on the way as well. So that's super cool, especially as we're going into summer with race season upon us. Now, the person it's not for, somebody who doesn't like shoes in general, I think this would be fine for pretty much anybody to have. Might not be an everyday pull for you if you're a big sneakerhead, but yeah, who it's not for, daggone, somebody who likes a really low drop, a minimal heel to toe drop. That's kind of my only qualm with it. It's not like overly soft. It's not overly cushioned. It's so unoffensive, is maybe how I would frame the Pegasus 42. Very unoffensive, and even more so now that it has that wider toe box. So a lot of really good things all the way around. I'm going to give Nike a nice cheeky thumbs up on this. Not an incredible shoe, but a very reasonable shoe. That biker coming up, I had no idea that was happening. Neat. With all that said, if you have any comparisons you want me to do with the Pegasus, by all means, let me know. I'm happy to do some videos on that. I think I want to start increasing the frequency of videos and doing some maybe shorter head-to-head videos that aren't like 30 minutes long, maybe. If you have any ideas on how I could format that and are interested in something like that, if you have like shoes you want to see put up against each other, by all means, drop them down below in the comments. Thank you for hanging out with me today, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.